This is a cheap Chinese diesel heater. This is actually the second or third one that I've owned, and I've had this consistent issue with these heaters that they leak diesel exhaust through the hot air vent, and there's so much bad information. There's so many people online who I'm gonna call the religious cheap asses because you try to bring up an issue about these heaters and they just shut you out and shit on you and say, no, you're crazy. This doesn't happen for me, blah, blah, blah. You're doing it wrong. You installed it wrong. You're an asshole just because I'm desperate for this $100 heater to be the best thing ever invented. And the issue I was having is people kept saying you need to run these hot and it's just a break-in oil. The fumes are smelling. It's just break-in oil. Just run it on max for a few hours and eventually it will burn off. Well, this heater's had probably 100, 150 hours on it and it was 100% leaking diesel fumes. It was not the install. The install is done 100% correctly. The exhaust is going outside. The intake combustion chamber intake is also running outside. Exhaust is pointing downwards. Everything is correct. It's just this thing is a piece of junk. It's just built really poorly. And after disassembling these, this one's probably like the fifth time I've taken this thing apart trying to get this to seal, that I finally found the cause. So people, even some people who have taken these apart a few times will say the issue is the stock kind of gasket. So this is the stock gasket. It's like a paper and compressed metal gasket. And they say, oh, these are no good. You need to get the green gaskets. The kind of these standardized gaskets. I don't know what material this is. It's like a waxy paper or something. Well, I put these brand new gaskets in and sealed it all up. And right away it started leaking again. So what do? I tore it apart and I finally figured it out. So in the combustion chamber, this is the, I don't know what you even call these parts, but this is kind of like a flange slash air tube, combustion tube that goes into it. And it seals with a gasket along this surface, right? And this is cast aluminum, that's cast aluminum. The problem is this flange is made of really cheap kind of pot metal. So this flange surface originally was sealed or tightened with these Allen bolts. And I found the second that I put this in and started tightening it down, and mind you, I'm tightening with a T-handle like this, and I'm tightening it down to hand tight. I'm not cranking on this thing, but just a little bit of tightness to get that gasket to try to compress and seal. What was happening was that little bit of hand tightness alone was causing these holes on the flange to bow out, to bend inwards. And I've just finished hammering these all back to flat on my anvil. But you could see every single one of them. Once you tightened it, the metal would just dip. So it would dimple in all those spots. And now this thing, there's no way it's going to seal at all. And so I took it apart again and I used gaskets again. And I tried going with a bolt with a flange in it, right, to get more sealing surface. And then I added stainless steel washers to try to spread that force out so it's not dimpling those holes. It didn't work. Even just barely finger tight, a little bit more hand tight to try to get that gasket to sit flush all the way around, bent them all again. So this is just a manufacturing error, right? This is just using cheap materials, using really shitty thin metal, like a copy, like this is a knockoff, but this is just the shortcomings of this diesel heater. And you gotta face facts. Like if you want this thing to work, the only thing that I can see, the only way that I can think of to actually seal this is just goop the hell out of it with the copper silicone, run a thick bead and then just let it sit there, tighten it down like barely, but just enough, and hopefully that just glues it together and seals that surface. Even the outer flange here that the fan unit sits on, so you can see this is machined. That's machined nice and flat. Okay, this part is fine, but this part machining, like you can see the machining marks on it. It looks like they machined this thing with like a wood bit or something like that. And I checked this surface with a flat edge, with a straight edge, and this isn't even flush. This surface isn't even flat. So it's flat up to about here, and then it looks like whatever tooling they use slipped or something, and then it's got like a dip in it. So this surface, like it's not even flat. So there's no way you can use either a paper gasket or the stock metal gasket or whatever it is. There's no way you're going to seal this properly ever. It's just not going to seal. It wasn't machined right. So that's all I can suggest is if it's leaking exhaust for you, don't listen to all these people online that are saying, oh, it's just you have your installation done wrong. You know, blah, 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 like all these excuses because they don't know. They haven't taken these things apart. They haven't looked at how these things go together or how this works. So their only solution is to blame you and say, you don't know how to run your hoses, or, you know, it's the intake or it's the factory machining oil. You just have to run it hot, blah, blah, blah. No, here's how to test this. Turn your heater on. The glow plug's going to heat up, and then the fuel pump's going to start clicking and it's going to start igniting. So when you hear that exhaust ignite, in those first like 10-20 seconds, this entire heater will still be cool, right? It's going to take like 10-20 seconds of combustion to heat up, but you're going to hear the exhaust give that whoosh like when it first ignites that diesel. When it first ignites that diesel, put your nose right up to the hot air outlet and just give it a good whiff. If you smell any hint of diesel at all, diesel exhaust fume, that means your heater's leaking exhaust straight into your heated area, and you're inhaling exhaust. You're inhaling carbon dioxide. You know, you could kill yourself if you fall asleep with this thing on, if that's the case. So don't listen to all the BS out there. People are like desperate. They're religious for these things to work, right? But if something's wrong with the unit, something's wrong with the unit, and you've got to fix it, or you've got to buy a better unit. So there you go. This is my 2 cents. I know some of these cheap asses are going to come on here and blast me and say, no, you're an idiot. I've ran mine for 2 months straight and I can't smell anything and blah, 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 blah. Well, hopefully this saves like somebody's life, or, you know, it helps somebody out, because there's a lot of you like cheap ass in denial people out there that are just, you're getting too high from huffing diesel exhaust fumes, and that's it.